everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Minister of Information.
Next question. Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
The minister. Wake up.
Minister of Information. All I'm offering is the truth.
The minister.
The minister's.
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I.
Minister.
Without knowledge of self.
Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I. podcast.
Peace and light, fam. Peace and light. Speaking of light, let me get my light together over here. It looks crazy as hell. What's going on, family? Now, a lot of y'all just came off of Instagram. Talked to a lot of y'all. Pardon me for a second, fam. Let me get my this shit together over here. As y'all know, lighting is important, right? There we go. Look a little better right there. So a lot of y'all just talked to over on IG. And I'm so thankful that you guys came over here to YouTube, because for some reason IG be giving me the shit, you know what I'm saying? So first off the rip, I want to of course acknowledge I am Goddess 369. She was the first one in the room, y'all. This sister was the first one in the room. I appreciate your sister. She was ready for the information, ready for the M.O.I. to hop up here and do my thing. So you already know, get your pens and your pads. Class is in session, and I'm going to do better about being more available to talk on here a lot more, because I know there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation out there too. So we got to be careful with the misinformation, and that's what makes this information so vital, or so refreshing to when you hear this type of information that I'm putting out. It's probably unmatched against what somebody else is talking about, right? Because this is right knowledge. Islam. All right, who else is in the building? The L's and the Bays in the building. Peace and love, peace and love. Peace and light, brother. Peace and love. What's going on, family? My disciples are showing up. I love it, y'all. You know, I love it when y'all hop in here and get ready to learn, man. I freaking love it. Like and share. Definitely like and share this and subscribe, man. Listen, y'all, we doing good, family. We doing good. I'm at 800 subscribers in little, just under 2 months. Y'all fuck with your boy. I appreciate y'all, man. This light is getting on my nerve right here. Y'all really rocking with me, man, and I appreciate it so much. That my channel has grown expeditiously in this little short amount of time. All thanks to you all. Y'all want the information to keep coming? Keep spreading it, man. Just hit the share button. You know what I'm saying? Your info got me shaking up the lodges. They don't like it. Of course they don't like it, brother. Chad Bay, listen, you already know, Bay. The wills and the ways. You know what I'm saying? When you go in your lodge talking the information that I teach, man, you're not gonna find it in your ritual. You're not gonna find it nowhere. Your WM ain't gonna your WM. You're gonna scare the WM first of all. It's probably what's happening. The worst for master probably fucking shook because you speaking that right knowledge. And you're like, man, where this brother get this shit from, man? And you know what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all. That's why I say anything that I put out, I ain't gotta talk about none of the Masonic rituals. I know enough information, and I have a higher overstanding of what's really going on. That's why I teach y'all the information, man. Keys to Solomon's Temple, revealing the Masonic Code. These are lectures I'm going to do again. I'm going to do another version of these joints, man. So TKC ready, pen and pad in hand. Always take notes, family. Listen, I'm not here to convince any of y'all. I'm not here to persuade y'all. This is information. I want you guys to do your own research. By doing your own research, this becomes something you know and not something you heard. You have to say nobody told you nothing, because you're going to write down the key points in the notes. You're going to ask questions. This is class. It's a classroom. I'm not here to entertain nobody. This is not entertainment. So I'm not here to report the news, what's happening in the world. Listen, I'm in the world, but not of the world. Things are going to continue to happen in this world at full light speed. Even when you leave the planet, it's going to continue to go on. So I don't try not to tarry too much in what's happening with the current news. Go to somebody else's channel for that information. That's cool. But if you want to learn information and learn history and have a greater understanding of the condition our people are in, you're in the right place today. All right. Pens and pads out. Pens and pads out. What's up, y'all? Peace and love. Peace and love. Facts. Mystic Philly, what's going on, y'all? Now, listen, all of y'all that's in here, I really need y'all to share. Like button is cool, but share, subscribe, click the bell for notification symbol, because I might just go on any time of the night, any time of the day, whatever I'm feeling, I'm just hop on here and go at it. So make sure you click that notification button, y'all, to stay in the loop, to stay in tune with me, tapped in with your boy. Let's get it in. Before we go any further, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about December 9th through the 11th. December the 9th through the 11th. Hold on. There we go. December 9th through the 11th in Atlanta, Georgia. The Knowledge Enlightenment Seminar is going down pound for pound. I'm going to ask you guys to shoot me an email. The email's at the bottom of the screen right there. Shoot me an email if you're interested in vending in person, in virtual vending. If you're interested in vending, let me know. If you want to buy your tickets, also go to eventbrite.com or shoot me an email. I'll send you the link. The seminar is happening. Only about 25 people are going to be in the building. Very small, intimate crowd for these master teachers and master lecturers. We got breakout sessions. It's going to be featured with a lot of great dope people from Atlanta. We got yoga Saturday and Sunday. Book authors, performances. It's a whole shindig, and everybody ain't even listed yet who all we got going on, family. So it's going to be definitely something for the ages, something you don't want to miss, something you want to be a part of. Let me know. Shoot me an email. The email is right at the bottom right there. And we're going to get into our measure because I know you guys are ready. So listen, the other day we covered part 1 of the transatlantic slave trade. And yeah, I'm jumping right in it. Part 1 of the transatlantic slave trade we covered yesterday. And yesterday, if you weren't a part of it, what I basically did was did a rough brief synopsis on some historical markers that happened earlier on. I also showed oh yeah, we're gonna pull it up too, 12 Years a Slave. I also showed a lot of information dealing with individuals who were the cause and creators for the subject of African American studies, African American histories, or whatever the case is, which was a political social construct, right? We don't all come from Africa. There's other mounds of dirt called continents on this planet that people also spawn from. Those are called the Aborigine, not Aboriginal. Aborigine. There's a difference. Aboriginal means away from the original. Aborigine means from the beginning, much like indigenous means also. Terms like native, not so much, but definitely indigenous and aborigine. So I went into explaining. I think I'll pick back up here while I'm thinking about it. I'll, well, let's just go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's talk about the Atlantic slave trade, family. Now, as we know it, or as we understand it, the Atlantic slave trade happened to a lot of African people from the coastal parts of Africa, mainly what we call the west coast of Africa, and these individuals were snatched up, um, and they were traded amongst the seas, and they were forced into labor in the Americas. The question I want us, because we're going into Black History Month in another 2 months, December, January, ML King, then Black History Month right after that, right? So I want us to go into next year, going into Black History Month, understanding the flaw of which we all may understand the history of Africans out of Africa coming to the Americas as it relates to slavery. Did the Atlantic slave trade happen? Yes, it did happen. Did it happen the way that they have scribed it in your mind, that your people came out of Africa and were brought to America to pick cotton? It didn't happen that way, unfortunately. It didn't happen that way. And we're going to talk about why it didn't happen that way and some things you should write down and research yourself that will lead you to the same answer, right? So the Atlantic slave trade, there we go. The Atlantic slave trade. The Atlantic slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, or Euro-American slave trade involved transportation by slave traders of enslaved African people, mainly to the Americas. The slave trade regularly used the triangular trade route, which is later known as the Bermuda Triangle. Why didn't any of those ships sink or get zapped up by the Bermuda Triangle? Because they were made of wood. Metal ships, metal objects that go across the Bermuda Triangle, typically if they're lost at sea or they go through some type of fucking portal. The Bermuda Triangle underneath it is a crystallized pyramid down there, so they say. All right. And its Middle Passage. It's called the Middle Passage. Okay, the Middle Passage, transatlantic slave trade, and existed from 16th to 19th century. All right. So the 16th to 19th century is when that existed. The 16th century family is the 1500s. All right. The 19th century, okay, that's the freaking 1800s. All right. And it began at the beginning of the 1500s. Do you know why? Anybody know why it began at the beginning of the 1500s? Well, I'll show you. And the answer may not be the answer that you're thinking, but let's find out. Intercatera Cavina. That is not what I want to put up there. Well, let's take a look at this thing right here. This is why it began in the 1500s. It says, you guys can read this. Intercatera was a papal bull. Let's slow down, okay? The Intercatera was a papal bull by Pope Alexander the Fourth. I'm sorry, the Fifth. Pope Alexander the Fifth. What is a papal bull, minister? A papal bull is a type of public decree, letter, patent, or charter contract issued by the Pope of the Catholic Church. It is named after the Latin seal bulla that was traditionally appended at the end of the order or at the end of an order to authenticate it. So a papal bull was a public decree, letter, patent, or charter. It could be either one of those, issued by the Pope. It traditionally appended to the end in order to authenticate it. A papal bull. It was issued by Pope Alexander the Fifth. Pope Alexander the Fifth. Family, this is how you begin to talk right history with people. This is when you get into those conversations in the barbershop. If you begin to put people in time and space, I cannot emphasize that any more than what I'm doing. You have to put people in time and space. Well, what is time and space, minister? Time and space is when it happened and where it happened. If you're really good, you can tell them who did it as well. So if you get into a conversation about the transatlantic slave trade and you're talking to somebody and say, well, it didn't even begin until when? The 1500s, right? It didn't begin until the 1500s. In the 1500s, there was no fucking cotton in America. So let's disqualify the fact that any slaves were brought to North America to pick cotton. Because, and I'm saying cotton because they usually make the parable between slavery and enslavement, or a slave and enslavement. Enslavement was a system, and we'll see in a minute. Enslavement was a system of labor, usually free labor, associated with getting some shit done, right? A slave was also a form of worker, but a slave was typically given or sold or traded. Enslaved people were captured. I'll explain later. I just want to make that distinction to where we're not confusing the fact that people that came over from Africa can be confused with people who pick cotton. The cotton pickers were not African people from the Atlantic slave trade. I'm going to show you what slave trade they came from. The cotton picking niggas in North America, and I mean that with all due respect, I'm going to show you who they were. All right? Now let's go here. Now, the individuals who were brought out of Africa, the vast majority of those individuals, where is it at? Ended up here. The vast majority of the individuals we brought from Africa over to the Central America places. This is the island like Jamaica. This is Haiti. This is Puerto Rico. They call it Puerto Rico now, but these are those places. The Africans who were brought out of the continent of Africa in the earlier 1500s, 1600s, even the 1700s, right? Because no slavery started in 1500. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. 1493, Indica Terra Convena. How convenient. The fact that as soon as Colombo comes to this territory, which he didn't come to North America, by the way, the triangle, I showed you the trade triangle, actually shifted him down to the islands that today we call Jamaica and Barbados. And today they still call the British Islands because Britain still owned those islands. We know Haiti revolted when France owned them, thus the conditions they're in right now, embargo, all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that these individuals were brought not to North America to pick cotton, people. There were no cotton. There was no cotton. We're going to talk about cotton in a minute and what king cotton is. This is not cotton fields. These are sugarcane plantations. Sugarcane plantations were mostly, if not all, in the Caribbean. Africans who were brought out of Africa under slavery were brought out of Africa under the Portuguese and the Spaniards, not under the British people. The British people settled the 13 colonies later. In 1776, those British people had a skirmish against other British people. So from 1776 that we know of, it was founded. Let's go backwards to 1676. Still nothing. Hardly any colonies. Maybe 2 or 3 of them. Maybe 4 colonies. But those colonies were up north. There was no cotton to be picked. Let's go back further to 1576. Definitely, for sure, no motherfucker about picking cotton in North America. Not to the scale of how they propagate. Slavery started. It came out of Africa. Y'all pick cotton, you beat. They never talk about the sugarcane plantations from which the Africans who were brought out of Africa were mostly brought to Central and South America. They were brought to South America by the fucking millions. Because in South America, there was a lost city of gold that the Europeans were trying to find. And I said Europeans, I'm talking about the Spaniards, the Portuguese. That's the language of influence in those areas. Okay? So anyway, these individuals here were brought to sugarcane plantations. They were not brought to cotton fields. There was no cotton to be picked. Okay? 1790s. 1790s, general campaign against blood-stained sugar took place in 1790s and 1820s. Quakers in both the United States and Great Britain abstained from all slave products: sugar, indigo, rice, cotton. From 1750, more general campaigns against blood-stained cotton took place in the 1790s and 1820s in Great Britain. Great Britain eventually banned the slave trade in 1807. 1807, Britain banned slave trading on the seas, family. That means no more Negroes were brought out of Africa that we know of legally that was brought over to the plantations, the sugarcane plantations. 1807, we don't get cotton yet, people. Civil War hadn't even happened yet. The South has not even discovered the idea that the South can survive by itself yet. Hell, 1807, we're just really been in the corner on establishing all 13 colonies. It's 1807, 1776, 40, 50 years prior to that, we just stopped fucking with Britain for real. I say we, they just stopped rocking with Britain for real. And this is 1807. No cotton yet. No Africans were brought to North America yet. Not yet. Hold on. I'm not talking about 1619, Hampton, Virginia. It was just a handful of them. Hold on. I'm going to show you who these Africans who were brought out of Africa, and they amalgamated. They amalgamated with the local people. What, minister? What do the local people look like then at that point in time? Let's look up the Carib. Here we go. They won't even bring it up on here. See, we got images. I have to now be able to show y'all. I can't find this way right here. I have another way to find it. Here we go. Carib. The Caribs. Can y'all see that? It says Carib, American Indian people who inhabited the Lesser Antilles, part of the neighboring South America coast at the time of Spanish conquest. Their name was given to the Caribbean Sea, and its Awawak equivalence is the origin of the English word cannibal. The Caribs who were already there. Let's go here. These are the Caribs. Some of them. These are the Caribs. Now, they say the Caribs were also akin to these people right here. Let me show y'all something. Let me show y'all this.
Arawakan.
The Arawakan people. The Arawakan people were a little bit further down, what's called South America. See this right here? And I'm making a point here in a second. The Arawak. Always right here, the Arawakan people. And from the Arawakan people, you also get Mississippian culture. The Mississippian culture. Y'all see that? Also called mound builders. And this is in North America. In this section right here, which is right above Central and South America. See, the gag is when they say slaves were brought to America, you have to stop the conversation and say, which America? You have to, family. It's imperative that you stop the conversation. The next time there's a talk about slavery and ancestors and reparations and all this nonsense, you stop them and ask them, wait a minute, which America? Which America? This is a good question right here, I think. True indeed. I find it interesting that Anthony Johnson was an African slave owner in the 1600s. His son actually one of the slaves. He were not picking cotton. Nah, we're gonna deal with that. 1618, John Punch. We're gonna deal with that. We're gonna deal with that. Trust me. We're gonna deal with all that. These were called mound builders. This is the Mississippian culture. And if you notice, family, it goes all the way down to what we call today New Orleans. All the way down to New Orleans. And this area below right here, this whole area right here was just like the Mediterranean Sea. This would be the Mediterranean Sea for us right here. And the Mediterranean Sea was known for high trade, lots of trade, lots of ports. You got ports in Mississippi, you got ports in Louisiana, you got ports in Texas, you have ports over here in Savannah, you have ports in the Carolinas, you have ports all the way to New Jersey and Baltimore and New York. You have ports down here for expediting or trading. And this same little nook right here were all indigenous people. Watch this. Poverty Point. This is Poverty Point. Poverty Point is in New Orleans, what we call today New Orleans. Get a picture of it. Poverty Point, Louisiana. And in Poverty Point, Louisiana, because in BC time, you count down. You don't count up, you count down. That's why I say it's 17 to 11, because you count down in BC time. All right? Poverty Point. Poverty Point is one of the most unique Native American sites in North America. Native Americans constructed this site for about 3,400 years ago. 3,400 years ago. 3,400 years ago. 3,400 years ago? Well, the Bible is 6,000 years ago, so it's half a time of that. People were already here in civilizations, organized civilizations. 17,000 BC? Which people were here doing that, I wonder? Your black ass. We'll get to it. Hold on. I'm getting excited. Getting ahead of myself, family. I'm just excited for the truth right now. And what I'm doing, I'm trying to develop a case so you understand when we talk about the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. I begin to divide a part of your mind in history so it does not all run together, because it does not all run together. The transatlantic slave trade of Africans being brought from Africa did happen, but they were brought into the central and southern parts of the Americas, plural, because the North American part of the world had not yet been settled yet. Now, the people like Cortez, we'll deal with Cortez in a minute. Cortez the explorer hit parts of Louisiana and parts of Alabama that we call today, right? Um, Ponce de Leon had already set up St. Augustine in Florida by this time, what we call Florida now. But you had the Miamian tribe. Hold on, man. So much shit, y'all. The Miamian tribe. There was a whole tribe called the Miami tribe. The whole tribe. The present Miami tribe of Oklahoma, incorporated 1940. The early Miamian were known for growing unique varieties of white corn. They celebrated harvest in green corn, time of feast, game played including Makash game and double ball and some other stuff. The Miamian tribe, right there in Florida, are also part of the Arawak. Let's go here. The woodland period. Hold on. Okay, this is called the woodland period. The woodland period precedes the Mississippian culture. All right. So this is how you study this shit, family. You can't just go off of them telling you you came from Africa. People are already here, and I'm showing you who are already here. I'm trying to show you who were already. I'm trying to show you what time it was and who was already here. All right. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you who's already here actively. In the classification of archaeology culture of North America, the woodland period of North America, pre-Columbian, before any European stepped foot on this continent, they're saying. And if you take note, right here, family, this is Alaska. This is Russia. This is northern Siberia. Right over here in this area right here, you have Finland. Dutch territory. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Finland. Sweden. Oh, it's right here. I'm sorry, right here. See that? And then you have the British Isles over here. You have Spain and Portugal and Africa right here. Right there. See how they show you this shit? But they bend it, of course, in a ball to give you the globe effect. But this area right here. Now these people right here walked over the ice bridge. This was called the last glaciator period. It's called the Goontz Ice Age. You have the Goontz Ice Age, and you have the Worm Ice Age. During the Worm Ice Age, this was all connected. All connected. So these people under what was called Hoshin of the Ming Dynasty, they crossed over here. Some of those people stayed right here and became a derogatory term called Eskimos right there. Many of them came down through parts of what we call Canada today, which was settled by the French. Some of them stayed up here in Washington, the state, and the Dakota tribe and Lakota tribe, right? And a lot of them came down here to Khalifa territory or California, and they amalgamated with the individuals who came from here up through here. So these people right here, the Olmec, the Olmec, mixed with the Hoshan people right here, and created what was called what? Mextec, Toltec, Inca, Maya. Those are the Arawak people I just showed you. These are these people. Now over here, however, these people right here were already here and already out here. Because out here, there was a small island by the name of Mu. Watch this, because I don't have to. We'll come back to this. I don't think I'm making up shit. The island of Mu.
According to
Do y'all see where Mu sit right here? Do y'all see Mu right here? The island of Mu, off the coast of Khalifa. We come from here, and the Peloponnesian island, in the Micronesian island. Over here too, you have Fiji. All copper-colored people. All copper-colored people. All copper-colored people. All of us. Uh-oh. All copper-colored people right here. The island of Mu. Now, speaking of Mu, let's go here. Let's go learn about Mu. And see, this is why I ask you guys to get your pen and your pad or your pencils and paper, because it's a lot of information. And the way I disseminate the information is in such a way that you go do the studying. I don't give you all the information. I give you enough to go study. Islam? Let's deal with the island of Mu right quick. Yes, this is my Instagram page. If you're not following me, if you're not really following me, you're not following me. But if you're following me, then you follow me, right? Let's point this out real quick. This right here. The Afro had nothing to do with West Africa being African. You cannot find me an African with an Afro like this. Not in Africa. It's too goddamn hot in some parts. Now, there's some parts of Africa that have really beautiful long hair. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is the Afro. The Afro has nothing to do with Africa or being African. It does not at all. Aborigine person is Aborigines or ancient. Let's continue. I got a lot of stuff on my Instagram. Where is it at?
Washita are Moors, Muurs. The Moors, Moors, that you're talking about are not even from this continent.
Oh.
I got a problem with that. Their inhabitants, is that Margaret, Iberian Peninsula?
Almagreb.
Yeah, Sicily and Malta. That's where they
right.
were during the Middle Ages. But I'm talking about the Washita, the first people who came over from the continent of Mu, the oldest people on earth. This is how the United Nations is able to bestow upon the Washita de Pneumonia as the oldest indigenous people on earth. See, you can't establish this over here if you don't have facts behind. The other proof is Poverty Point, right there in Northeast Louisiana, my little hometown.
I know that some parts of Louisiana and Mississippi were considered to be great deltas of the mound building. Different that we should know.
The Washita are Moors, Muurs. The Moors, Moors that you're talking about are not even from this continent.
Oh.
That's Sister Belle, Empress Belle. She is a native of the Washita Nation. I wanted to just point out dealing with the land of Mu, and I got more. So hold on. No pun intended. Me saying more and Mu, but both one and the same. There's something else on here dealing with the land of Mu also. Okay, let me show y'all this real quick right here. There we go. This is another breed of the human race, the Australoid race. If I could just do this right here. The Australoid race, the Australo-Melanesian, also known as Australians or Australo-Melanesia race or Austral race, is an outdated historical grouping of various people indigenous to the Melanesians and into Australia. Groups that were controversially included are found in parts of Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia population grouped as Negritos, or a number of dark-skinned tribal population of the India subcontinent. This right here where Mu would have been. They're talking about this area right here, family. Nowhere over here. We're talking about right here. This is called the Australoid race. I know you hear about the Negroid and the Caucasian, the Caucasoid and the Negroid, but nobody ever talks to you about your people. They just lump you into one fucking group and calling you African. You hop around saying, thinking you African. Honest. Hold on. Honest to Prophet Noble Jew Ali, who told you that Negro, black, color were all labels given to you by slaveholders, the tradesmen, the trading slave holding people who use you as a commodity had to give you those labels to register you as property, or what they call a person, can be now, we know, my Black Laws Dictionary is over here, but a person is identified as a corporation, as a corp, a dead corp. This is the living people who you're connected to. This is the living people you're connected to, family. When I say we have empires upon empires, I just showed you what was called the Mississippian culture, 1100 BC. Now I'm showing you Mu, where Mu would have been located. Let's continue. Because y'all get me excited. Let's look right here. Here we go again. You are the original people of the entire freaking planet. They got you thinking you just came off a goddamn wooden ship. They got y'all thinking y'all just came off a wooden ship. Pick a little bit of cotton. M.L. King, Malcolm X, Black Panther, Nation of Islam, Moorish Science Temple, Obama, and here you are. No. Even the story of the Moors of 7-Eleven, they have a history too, family. They just fucking just appear before they even got to Portugal and Spain. Where they come from? The Berbers, they call them. Who were they? What's their history? Who are their forefathers? Y'all better start asking some goddamn questions and quit playing. See, this is why nobody can pull that small town talk over on me, because I'm going to go back and keep going back. And I'm going to give you people, I'm going to give you places, I'm going to give you dates. Family, let me make myself bigger so you can understand what I'm saying. It's imperative to, when you have conversations or philosophical debates with people, If you start to put them in time and space, they have to shut the fuck up. If somebody say, you know, the white man printed the Bible, and it might be a valid point wherever you are, the barbershop or the family's house or the cookout or the kickback, and it has everybody's attention. The white man printed the Bible. And then you say, well, the first Bible was not even printed until when? 1460 something in Woodbridge, Germany, by Johannes Gutenberg and Johannes Fuss, who had a deal together. And Johannes Gutenberg was in the deal. So Johannes Fuss confiscated the printing print, removable press. It's called a printing press, removable print. That's how the Bible was duplicated so many times. Otherwise, it was transcribed or transliterated from what was called the Vulgate into the Nova Instrumentum for the first time in 1516. See the dates, places, people, location. This is how you debate with people and get them to shh. Like Farrakhan said, you should all just shut up and be quiet. Farrakhan had the interview. So anyway, who is the original man? The Asiatic black man. The Asiatic black man. Not that you are Asian. Asia was the whole fucking planet, family. Look at these. These are the negritos they're talking about. These are the negritos. The negritos over here. You see the original Australians? Look at that. Down in what we call today Puerto Rico. There's a dark group of people in Puerto Rico. And then North American people, right, with their long ass Indian hair. They must got Indian in their family. They are Indian. These are the Indians. Let's continue. I'm trying to make a point. I think this is the one that sister went in on more on the land of Mu. I want to go here again before I go back to the woodland period real quick, if y'all don't mind, family.
Yes, and let me tell you something. Coming from the continent of Mu, and I wish you would pull that up.
Please.
You know, I was trying to pull up some things myself. To say, boy, you really need to pull up Mu while I'm saying this.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to deal with it.
You see Mu right there on the left. And look what the little dotted lines they got up under that Negroid migration pattern. In other words, we left Mu and marched all together now directly over into what? Africa. Okay, I find something wrong with that. Because where I'm from, me being Washita, where I'm from, in little old Northeast Louisiana, the world has said, you all are older than Africa. Come on, let's put these facts in line here. How are we older than Africa?
To the Washita.
You heard what the sister said. And I'm going to keep going back. And then I'm going to bring y'all ass forward. With the 43-minute mark, family, thank y'all for tapping in with your boy, man. The mental information. I'm super excited to have y'all on here with me live. I got to take a pause for the calls and also bring up the fact that December 9th through the 11th, this is the kind of heat we putting out. It's on there. It's listed. Nationality, we're talking about nationality, non-national human rights, land ownership, the real history of the Atlanta slave trade. Y'all getting a portion of it right here. Y'all getting what's called a soho, a portion of it. A portion of it. This is not even what we kicking on. I got a whole other presentation for this shit. And I'm only owing him for an hour and 45 minutes. We 3 days building like this. I need 25 dedicated people who want the information. People are paying thousands of dollars for fucking real estate seminars in Atlanta right now. 1-day seminars. How to flip a house. How to do Bitcoins. How to trade. They're paying thousands of dollars for information. Register, family. Hit me at M.O.I podcast at Gmail for tickets. You can make a deposit. And look, this is the cool thing. If you want to just attend the 1 day Saturday, you can pay by the day. You ain't got to attend the whole seminar for the whole weekend. You can do 1 day. That Saturday, the whole Saturday. Get your head bust to the white meat with information. Wait till y'all see who I got coming next. I'm not even going to announce them yet. I'm gonna wait till maybe the second week of November to announce who I really got taking the stage. We're gonna rock this motherfucker for real with information, right knowledge. I'm dealing with nothing but scholarship and master teachers. I'm not dealing with entertainers. People just want to entertain y'all. We got breakout sessions, yoga, live entertainment. The shit is going down. We're dealing with community outreach and everything, family. Everything to undo what you already think you know. All right. Let's get back to the measure. So listen, I'm trying to find this on here we go right here. So this right here is the Empress. The Empress. The Empress. Hold on, I'm trying to blow this thing up. There we go. Right there in Poverty Point. Y'all see what's on her head? See how she dressed? According to the present leader of the Ouachita Nation, when Spain ceded the Louisiana territory to France, they excluded the land belonging to the Ouachita Nation. France did not include in the Louisiana Purchase. And according to the leader, this land is not a part of the United States. This point was made in the newspaper in the Capitol Spotlight, June 1992. In fact, the courts agreed that the land was not part of the U.S. and that the fact that the Wichita or Oshitush Nation was on the land. The Wichita Nation claims to be 100,000 years of history, including mound-building Indians, but never been recognized as Indian tribe by federal government. Do y'all see who that is right there? That lady on the left-hand side, that ain't, don't send a fucking Harriet Tubman. Don't send it stupid. It's not Harriet Tubman. We'll talk about Harriet Tubman later. With her Department of Labor ass. We'll talk about her later. All right? This is Eliza Turner Quiltman, pure-blooded Wichita. Do y'all know who mama and daddy that is? John A. Drew Quitman, full-blooded Cherokee. Do you know who daddy that is? I want y'all to guess. I want the Moors to guess this. All my Moors, tap in right now. I see a lot of eels and bays up here. Who parents are that? Who that pappy and that mama? Who they belong to? Or what child belong to them? If y'all can answer this question in the next 60 seconds to answer this question, the first person to answer this question correctly, I'll cash app you $20 right now. That's my word. Anybody that can, in the next 5 seconds, who parents are these? Who parents are these? Who parents are these? No, they're not Nat Turner parents. They akin to Nat Turner. Nat Turner was the last chief, that last stronghold, what they call a rebellion. Nat was like, fuck it, they ain't taking something. It ain't Nat Turner. Give it to me. I answered. Oh, Mama segment got it. Mama segment got it. These are the parents of Noble Drew Ali or Timothy Drew. These are the parents of Timothy Drew. Mama segment, make sure I get your cash app. I'm a man of my word. This is Timothy Drew's parents. Timothy Drew's parents are a part of the Wichita Nation. Do you guys want to know what the great vast estate Noble Drew Ali was talking about? The vast estate. This is part of it. Right here. This is the vast estate right here. This is it. This is it. This is the Republic. This is it. This is our territory. This is it. See, what let me find another picture right quick.
But it will never get to the ancient people and their generations in the direction that we're going right now. I don't believe that Noble Drew Ali, being a Ouachita and being a relative of mine, very close relative, I just don't believe that he would have given the family inheritance away to another group of people.
I participated in the Moorish Science Temple of America movement around 2017, 2018, I believe it was. And I'm a founding member of Temple number 14 out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And when I got into the Moorish Science, Noble Drew Ali was propagated as a prophet, unlike to Moses or any of the great prophets of the Old Testament. That's how Noble Drew Ali was propagated to us. And Noble Drew Ali left all of us Moors, the faithful Moors, the vast estate, some type of great inheritance to where we can meaning Moors of a Moorish mindset, that we can proclaim this territory known as.
But it will never.
I did the interview already, family. I did the interview with Sister Bell, who's a direct descendant of the Wichita Moors, and this is on my page. Go on my Instagram page after we get done with this and look into it. All these videos right here, all of them. Let me show y'all. All these videos right here, all these videos are dealing with that. Let's pull this up real quick. The Wichita Moor, M-U-U-R, from the land of Moors, recognized by the United Nations in 1993 under number 215/93. Much of this is kept hidden by the public. See, here we go again. Watch it right here. The Wichita Nation, headed by Verdice Hampton Gaucher, also known as Verdice Turner, as the Empress Verdice Terra Wichita Turner. She was the mayor of Richwood, Louisiana in 1975 to 76, and again from 1980 to 84. She's the self-publisher of the book Return of the Ancient Ones in 1993. Terra Wichita Turner. Drew Quitman, Elizabeth Turner, Noble Drew Ali's parents.
They waited until Verdice Golston and myself and Nathan Jones reclamated it, did all the research all those years, and then you come forth as saying it's yours. How come you didn't get a United Nations number? Why did you have to wait to operate up under what the three of us did? And they were one of the reasons why I more or less pushed back on Verdice during that time. Is when they came around and started expounding upon documents. I knew something was wrong then.
What relation are these ancient Moors? Are they any relation to the people of the Arawak or raccoon people?
Yeah.
That's what the word Wichita comes from, the raccoon people.
How can Poverty Point be designated as the oldest archaeological site in the northern hemisphere of the world? Because it is the place where the oldest people are. And again, we're talking about what? They waited until Verdice Golston and my
Poverty Point in North America is where the old. That's the only part I want her to say, right? So I can find that part so you guys can hear what she said, not that the minister said. Now I'm gonna go show you what she's talking about, or who she's talking about, rather. She said Poverty Point, and this is very true. The United Nations has recognized the Wichita tribe as one of the oldest civilizations here in North America, if not the oldest in North America. All right, and it's all by way of the land of Mu, and this ain't no Atlantis made up shit from the land of Atlantis and all that kind of stuff. No, this is real spit. Now they're gonna mystify it to make it seem like it was not that, but I'm telling you, let's look up the woodland period. It stops again. Now we have that background dealing with Poverty Point. We're dealing with Poverty Point, Louisiana. Now from Poverty Point, Louisiana, let me show you on the map. Let me blow this and make it big, make me reduce myself so you guys can get this information. It says the woodland period was introduced in the 1930s as a generic term for a prehistoric site falling between Anharic gatherers, hunters, and gatherers. What happened to the woodland period? The woodland period is marked by the manufactured Karmic vessel constructions of mounds and unequal distribution of exotic raw materials and finished goods, and the horticulture activity. And the Arkansas River Valley region, however, is very little is known of the woodland period patterns. So they don't even know everything about it. And until just now, I bet half of y'all know what the fuck the woodland period was. See, this is pre-Columbian history. This is pre-Columbian history. Honors to Ivan Van Sertima for writing the book They Came Before Columbus. But he was more in Central America, parts what we call Mexico today, dealing with the Olmec. Now I'm taking you backwards before we get to the Olmec people. I'm going back before that to show you that civilization existed, and this is North America. Saying got shit to do with the Aztecs and none of do. Listen, just keep your mind in North America. I know for some of our brains, our mind can't go past slavery in North America. Because that's just the psyops. That's the history that they've dumped in your head for 12, 13, 14 years of shul. Hell, that they call school, by feeding you those grimoires of the grammar, the spells, the incantations, or the magic of spells. Right? This is before then. See, I'm taking you back. Then I'm gonna bring you forward. So by the time we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, I have separated your fucking mind from thinking that you come from Africa now. Now you're only concerned about what about the people who are already here? Minister, what happened to those people? See, I'm showing you the people who were already here in North America and how they were surviving up on the Mississippi River like it was the Nile River. The Nile River civilization, the Mississippi civilization, nigga. It was here too. It was there and here. It was everywhere. But these people were here, something happened to them. And we'll talk about what happened to them. Now, from now the point your mind know about Poverty Point, Louisiana, all right? You know about the Wichita people, you know about the woodland period and the Mississippian culture. I'm gonna show you the Mississippian culture one more time, but let's explore the woodland period of North America. See here? This is the woodland period. It's a shitty map, but I'm just showing you the highlighted areas right here of the woodland period. You see those areas right there? Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, up into Chicago. Let me show you this one little thing right here. Y'all see that river right here? You see that river splits off? See this river right here? Y'all see that body of water going through that land right here? Notice the civilizations were sprouting up around the water. Around the water. These are ancient tribes of people. Ancient. Now don't get these people confused with the people who came over with Ho Shin. I talked about earlier. They came over on the Barren Straits. Those are those are the real pecan man who came over here. Not the Eskimos who intermingled with the Olmec and gave us a version of what we call today Mextec and Toltec. Not those people. That came later. Those Aztec and those Toltec who remained in North America eventually became dwellers in teepees. They were nomadic people. They were never from here in the first place. See, the people who were originally from here, they built mounds and pyramids and dwelling places because they stayed here. They're from here. They're not going nowhere else no time soon. The people out west, see. Oh, shit. Hold on. My bad, family. Pull up my other tab right quick. Hold on. By the woodland period. There we go. I was on the roll, about to go in. Hope y'all keeping up with this shit because there's a lot of information. And I haven't even got to what I want to get to yet. But I have to make haste and get there quickly. So like I was saying, these individuals right here during the woodland period, of what we call North America. I ain't trying to change it. There we go. Just notice the location. Notice the location of those people. Right here. See that? Right up in here. This right here is Poverty Point. This is Poverty Point. Poverty Point. Right here. Now, if we go back and look at that same area, let me show you something. Where did the Portuguese and Spaniards settle in North America? When the Portuguese and the Spaniards came to North America, they did not bother going up into the North American continent. They mostly settled. Let me see something right quick. Here we go. Get y'all a better map right quick, because I want us to take note of this. They really didn't have. Let's read right here. From Portugal hailed two explorers, Bartholomew Dias and Vasco da Gama. Diaz was appointed by by King John II of Portugal to explore the possible trade routes to Asia. 1488, Diaz became the first European explorer to open up that very trade route. His path took him around the Cape of Good Hope, which is the Cape Horn of Africa right here, located in what today is South Africa, through the Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean. His actions paved the way for another groundbreaking exploration for fellow Portuguese navigators Vasco da Gama. Da Gama followed Diaz's footsteps and charted expeditions around the Cape Horn of Good Hope, making various stops along the way, including present-day Mozambique and Kenya. Exploring on the behalf of Spain, there were Christopher Columbus, Francisco Vance El Coronado, and Fernando Magellan. Although none of these gentlemen were Spanish-born, Christopher Columbus was an Italian. He was commissioned by King Ferdinand and Queen Elizabeth to explore. He was commissioned. Let's stop here for a second, y'all. Christopher Columbus was commissioned by King Ferdinand and Queen Elizabeth of Spain to explore for them in his attempts to reach Asia. He landed where? In the Caribbean fucking islands in 1492. This is where Christopher Columbus came to, family. So Christopher Columbus coming to this territory of the Caribbean. I'm gonna go back to the ancient ones in a minute. I gotta bounce around so y'all can keep up what I'm trying to do, right? Christopher Columbus comes to that particular part of the world. Guess what he does? He goes back to Portugal and back to Spain. Queen Elizabeth, and King Ferdinand. Guess what they do? Oh, it's more land over there? Yes, it is. It's tons of it. Then listen, under what was called then the Inca Terra Covina. Under the Inca Terra Covina, they could go capture the infidels out of Africa, because African kingdoms were at war, and they would capture POWs, and they would give the white explorers their. You just saw the movie just came out about this shit. The Woman King. They just showed you how other African villages were conquering other little tribes and selling them off to the white folks. And them white folks, they wouldn't beat nobody on the ship. They were POWs. Much how I'm trying to explain to y'all, in North America, that happened again under what was called the 100-Year Indian War. These POWs were forced into labor camps at these plants, these processing plants called a plantation. They got you thinking it's a fucking plantation. No, a plantation is ran by a planter. He's the CEO of the plant, the manufacturing company, the plant. And like I'm gonna show you in a second, the North, the Civil War, remember that shit? This when cotton was booming. I'm gonna show you when cotton was booming. It was not in the 1600s or the 1700s or even the early 1800s, by that matter. 1806, Britain outlawed that you can't bring no more niggas out of Africa. 1806, you can't bring no more out. That's it. Cut it off. Then North America, like, then what we gonna do? We got all this goddamn cotton to pick. Who gonna pick the rest of this cotton? Then why don't we just take these fucking Indians and make them work? Because they're prisoners of war anyway. Put them in labor camps. So what you're seeing right here, it is a sugar plantation, but it's also a labor camp. So, god damn it. This picture right here, another picture. I'm trying to blow the page up. Forgive me. This picture right here that you see on the right-hand side of your screen, that picture is no different to slavery in the South than this picture right here. Those pictures have no fucking difference in them at all. Other than the people on the sugarcane plantation came out of Africa, the people on the cotton plantation comes out of America. Both people were traded amongst the Atlantic Ocean. Now we're going to get into the transatlantic slave trade. But I had to go back and show you the historicity that people were already here. Got to break this shit up in our head first. Think we came out of Africa only. No, the woodland period, the Mississippian culture. I really didn't dive into Poverty Point how I wanted to. I really didn't take you up into Illinois. I showed you the river going up to Illinois, the Chakotay pyramids, which are the oldest fucking pyramids on the planet right now. The biggest, they're bigger than the ones in Giza, by the way. I'll show you because y'all don't believe me. I'm bouncing all over the place. We're gonna come back to this. I just wanted to kind of break up that shit in y'all mind that the sugarcane plantation niggas are the same niggas as the cotton picking niggas. Two different black people. Two totally different black people. Two totally different time periods. Totally different. One group of the Caribs people who got put into sugarcane plantations just showed you, they were part of the Atlantic slave trade. These people picking cotton right here were not a part of the Atlantic slave trade. These people were part of another slave trade. Let me show you. The domestic slave trade of North America. Huh. Domestic slave trade. This is also called the Second Middle Passage. This is how you were traded amongst the Atlantic Ocean. This is the second Atlantic slave trade. The second Atlantic slave trade. This is not the first one. This is not the one from Africa. No. This is for the people who are already here in North America. They got traded amongst the seas. See how they go around Florida like it's the tip of Africa? You see that? You see how they get you from places like New Jersey? They took you from places like New Jersey, Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., and they brought your ass around to Louisiana. Those same ports I told you about earlier, those same locations I showed you earlier where the woodland people were working at. Yeah, they found out that land down there was really rich soil. They could really grow some goddamn cotton on there. Now, dealing with cotton, when was King Cotton established? Watch this. King Cotton. Look at that. These people were traded in the Americas, not from Africa. Were there African people mixed, amalgamated amongst the pack? Yes. Not enough for you to think that you came out of Africa, though. You were already here. It says, talk about King Cotton right quick. King Cotton. King Cotton is a slogan that summarized the strategy used before American Civil War of 1861-65 by secessionists in the southern states, the future Confederate States of America, to claim a feasibility of secession to prove that there was no need to fear a war with the northern states. The theory had control over cotton exports. would make proposals to the independent Confederate economic prosperous would ruin the textile industry of New England. So as you can see so far in our conversation, this Civil War situation was because the South, the territory I just showed you, the South was coming into really, really lots of economic power because back then it was the trade of the seas that got you the money. All right. It wasn't a capitalistic society yet. It wasn't about capitalism yet. That's coming with J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller building the fucking train and oil and all that kind of stuff later. Not yet. This was called mercantilism. Merchants. If you was a merchant trading amongst the seas, you had sea power, right? You see later, you see what says the Union Navy blockaded. This is a fucking skirmish between the United Kingdom textile mills, who actually processes the raw cotton, the northern states who are now the northern states at this time, New York, Connecticut, New Hampshire, which is really from Europe, New York, the New York, anything with new in front of it already exists in Europe. New Jersey already exists in Europe. These are the new British territories and the colonies. They are benefiting or benefactors from the textile companies that's over in Britain, right? So the South was in power. The South was trading with every fucking body. The South said, we don't even need the Union no more. We don't even need the Union anymore. So the idea of cotton, the idea of production for cotton, or the more need for raw cotton to be produced, it needed more laborers. They needed way more laborers. So the laborers, let me show you the laborers. Cotton plantation. These people were the laborers. How slavery became an economic engine. It was all about the economy. These people were not from Africa. I'm sorry. I know. They look like those people on the fucking sugarcane plantation. Slightly they do, not all the way. So you have to think 1865, picking cotton Negroes, sugarcane plantation Negroes from Africa, right? Which some of those were amalgamated. I'll show you in a second. But these are the indigenous people of North America that were put on labor camps, or what was called work camps. These are work camps that you call a plantation. It's a work camp. They're forced into labor, and they're not paid. They're not compensated for the labor because they're prisoners of war. Prisoners of war. Keep that in mind. Not slaves, but POWs. Let's take a look at what Lincoln said about the prisoners of war before he emancipated them. What did Lincoln say about the slaves? Lincoln calls the slaves contraband of war. Let's read this together out loud, family, so we can learn something right quick. Why were freed slaves called contraband? General Benjamin Butler refused to send three fugitive back into bonds of slavery. He classified the escaping slaves as contrabands of war. This term meant that once fleeing slaves crossed the Union Army lines, they were classified as property. If they were Africans from Africa, they would be exported back. Africans did not fight in the Civil War. Africans did not pick cotton, not to the scale that they're teaching you. I'm trying to teach you backwards to say these are prisoners of war. These are Native American people. These are indigenous Indians. These are the Pamunkey. These are the Yamacraw, whatever they say to get you to understand. These are the part of the Wichita, the Oshitush tribes. They were contrabands of war, or POWs. They were classified as property, put on plantations for forcibly work. They forcibly worked. And picking cotton didn't last no 400 fucking years, y'all. Picking cotton did not last 400 years. They didn't start getting into cotton to the late 1800s. I just showed you that. So about 30, 40, 50 years maybe, until the early 1970s even, to Mississippi. Picking cotton did not start during fucking Jamestown, Virginia, 1619. Picking cotton didn't start in those 1700s during the Revolutionary War. Picking cotton did not even start until later. At this time, they could not bring. Watch this. Atlantic slave trade banned in 1808. That's not what I want. I'm trying to find it. 1807. 1807. I was off by a year. They stopped bringing Negroes out of Africa in 1807 to any part of anywhere in America. The individuals that are here after 1808 picking cotton are the people who were already from here, who knew when to plant the cotton, knew when to pick the corn, they knew when to plant the collard greens, they knew how to plant the sweet potatoes. They were your grandma and them. They were farmers. No African is going to come out of the middle of fucking Nigeria to American soil and learn how to plant on American soil. There were no almanacs yet. Poor Richard's almanac wasn't written yet. Not yet. Not to the fact that niggas couldn't read it. No way. They'd be killed. How do they know when to plant the cotton? When to let the land lay? When to pick the corn? How would they know that? Unless they were farmers who were from here. Africa got a lot of resources, a lot of beautiful resources, but Africa has not, will never ever not produce as much cotton as the rich clay soils of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana ever produced. So the people who were picking that cotton and planting that cotton were from here because they knew. That's why the white folks put them out there, because the white people, they didn't know. The Europeans didn't know. There's those squatters, those carpetbaggers, they didn't know. They listen, shit. Y'all know when to plant it and how to pick it. So shit, let's just make them do it. That's why everything happened through civil war. Like war had to happen. Let's talk about the war a little bit more. Then I'm gonna go back and catch y'all back up. Talk about the war a little bit more real quick. Before we talk about the wars, talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, because the Emancipation Proclamation is what it also helps in the notioning of Africans from Africa were forced into labor to pick cotton until this white guy named well, he wasn't even a white guy, but this mud mix albinoid named Abraham Lincoln emancipated them. This is the history you're taught. Wooden slave ship, picking cotton, emancipated, Martin Luther King, Obama. This is what African Americans are taught is their history. Everybody, grandma and granddad are gardeners. If you still have living great grandmothers and living great uncles and great aunts, they always out in the yard planting flowers or something, and they know when to plant them. Better plant them collard greens before first frost. What are you talking about? First frost? What frost? Ain't no frost on the ground. Think about this shit, y'all. Quit. Stop. Stop just going what people tell y'all. Like, stop. Think. Ask yourself, if Africans were brought to America as slaves, what did they do in the 1600s when they got here? We only had about 4 fucking colonies to our name, maybe 2. What were the African people doing? Were they sitting around a campfire with the pilgrims waiting for slavery to happen? No, they never fucking brought them over here. You feel me? They never brought them over here. Not the way they taught y'all. They brought them to South America, not North America. Let's continue. What What else I want to show y'all? Let's get into the. I was gonna break something else down, but let's get into this now. Beginning in the 19th century, it says, beginning in the 19th century, the introduction of new methods of transportation altered the routes by used slave traders. The arrival of steamboats, not slave ships, schooners. You know what a schooner is? I'm sure what the fuck a schooner is. We get back to that. Look up a schooner. Schooner. Boom. They said steamboats, but I want to also show you what you be seeing in these fucking movies. That's a schooner. That is not a slave ship. There were no fucking slave ships. Okay? So let's just stop. Let's just stop. Let's just fucking stop. Please stop, y'all. Y'all too goddamn grown. Y'all way too grown, too educated to be thinking this niggas was packed on a wooden floating harmonica and floated across all that fucking water and survived and got here and had enough strength and power to sit there and just pick all the goddamn cotton on the planet. No. They came on these because this was the route that they took from DC around Florida to Alabama. You'll survive on that. You may get seasick a little bit, but it ain't about a 2 or 3 day fucking journey, maybe a 5-day journey. Schooners, watch this. Skiffs. Nope. Skiff boat. These. See this? See that? That's about as big as, and you see these in slave movies, don't you? When slaves are trying to get away in the bayou somewhere, the skiffs. Yeah, that's it. That's it. These are your slave ships, family. The fucking schooners and the skiffs. These are your slave ships. Now, watch this. Now let's go back. Let's go back to this. Domestic slave trade beginning in the 19th century. Who can tell me when was the 19th century? Come on. Y'all can do this. What year is the 19th century? Come on. Give me the year of the 19th century. Tobacco was a big deal, but only up north. Tobacco was not even significant enough for them to mention later in history. Cotton was the biggest motherfucking export they ever had. Tobacco and rice, later rice came in South Carolina. The Geechee Gullah people were forced to pick rice. 1800s, correct. 1800s. The 19th century being the 1800s. This is not 1619. This is not motherfucking 1775, 76. This is when? The 1800s. What happened in the 1800s? Beginning of the 1800s, the introduction of a new method of transportation altered the routes used by slave traders. You know why? Because in 1807, Britain said you can't bring no more niggas out of Africa at all. We got enough. Stop. Please stop. We got enough. In South America, the arrival of steamboats, skiffs, and schooners in 1811 allowed the traders send enslaved people from markets along the Ohio River and Mississippi River to Natchez, Mississippi. In New Orleans, Louisiana, the steam locomotive arrived in 1830. By 1840, 1850, rail lines stretched across the South, becoming the preferred method of transporting slaves to the lower South. Trips they took weeks by foot now took less than 2 days by rail. Negroes were exported from different places. Watch this. Huh. Boy, it's crazy as hell. These right here, these live purchase of Negroes, domestic slave trade, 1820. This is the story of the Atlantic slave trade that they try to pump off as the African slave trade, which has nothing to do with you. This is your story right here. This is your Holocaust. This is your Atlantic slave trade. There are two Atlantic slave trades. Stop with the African slave trade and learn about this slave trade. This is why your great uncles and great 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 ancestor would always do what when they got free? Run back north to freedom. No, they run back home. They were running back home. They were running back home. They're from Washington, D.C. They're from New York. They're from Connecticut. They're from New Hampshire. They're from fucking Jersey. They're from Norfolk, Virginia. They're running back home. They're not running north for freedom. They're not out watching the fucking stars trying to follow the drinking gourd to go to freedom. There's no freedom up north. In fact, about 5 states still practice slavery after Lincoln announced the Emancipation Proclamation. That only affected the South because the cotton mill people were not doing right with the textile mill people. So they put a blockade in front of Savannah in South Carolina so they could not export the cotton. That's called a blockade. 2 ironclad ships called the Monitor and the Merrimack. It was never about skin color. It was never about niggas versus crackers. It was never about the Ku Klux Klan. Never about lynch. Lynching didn't even start to after the fucking Civil War. Like lynching started in the 1900s. Like the way they show it, because if I just bought you from market as my, I'm not gonna lynch you. I just paid $1,200 for your ass. You about to work? I'm gonna beat you to death, or halfway to death. Give you 2 days to get right and get your ass back out to work. I'm not gonna lynch you. Like they were paying money for niggas. They paid money for people. Watch this. It's so much to deal with, fam. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. I mean, they traded the hell out of us. And again, these people right here, they're at work. They're at work. They're working. They're at work. They're at working. They're at work. They're working. Like if I come by your job and take a picture of your ass while you doing something and post it and put it in black and white, that's a slave? No, he at work. They were just at work. They were forced to work, unfortunately, without pay. There were no labor unions for these people back then, unfortunately, for the ancestors. So what Lincoln did was he announced the fact that these people right here, if y'all run up north where your other people are, if y'all run north, your contrabands of war, your property, and the South can't seize you. You got to fight for the Union though. And it's like shit, anything better than this shit. Do we get paid? Yes, you get paid while you're in the military. Niggas like, we get paid? Yes, you get paid. Oh, if I'm picking this cotton for free, I'm about to go fight for this bag. I'm about to go get this fucking bag. And I get to come down here and kill these same crackers who didn't pay me anyway. I'm off to fight. Think about it, y'all. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. These are not Africans out here picking cotton. The transatlantic slave trade happened 200 fucking years prior to this in the 1500s. The Portuguese and the Spaniards been trading them, the African niggas, to pick gold with their goddamn hand and spoons. The conquistadors been forced them into labor. 200 years. Now this came late. This is our story. This is our story. And the only Atlantic anything that any kind of fucking wooden boat floated on was just this area right here. That's the Atlantic. Last time I checked, this is the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Atlantic slave trade, the second Middle Passage, which adversely affected so-called African Americans in America right now. Not the African slave trade. Not that one. This is a whole nother new one. This is the one that fucked us up. Scenes from the movie 12 Years a Slave. So the movie 12 Years a Slave deals with the fact, and this is the scene right here. God damn it. This is the scene. If you've never seen the movie, check it out. But this is the scene right here when his name got changed. The white man slapped the fuck out of him. And he was speaking intelligently, like, nah, my name is, and the white dude slapped the life out of his ass and changed his name right there. You see that behind them, family? Let's blow this shit up. You see all this behind them right here? This is tobacco and gunpowder and sap and just cargo. See, they came with the cargo, and those ships behind them, those are not slave ships. Those are those schooner ships I showed you earlier. The schooners were cargo ships. So right beside the tobacco, in between the gunpowder, right beside the fucking pallets of rice that was going down to Louisiana to go to the stores for trade, because these were the schooners were the semi trucks of the day that was carried. You see semi trucks on the highway now, they're filled with fucking goods. They're trading goods. They're going some to a store, offload, it's food, it's fucking Pampers, it's diapers, it's car seats, it's auto parts. The schooners were the same thing, but the ocean was the highway. And in the back of those trucks, they had goods such as baby powder and gunpowder and this shit right here. And a couple of niggas were in there too. They had about 18, 19 niggas in there too. Just packed nice and tightly like this right here. Y'all put them three in between the tobacco and put them four niggas laying on their back against, because they didn't have enough room on there. There wasn't enough room on there. So most of the slavery narrative of slave ships, because these people were put on cargo ships and they came to a port. They came to a port, and right here in his hand, that's a legend, or what we will call later the birthing certificate with their names in it. That's what that was. Let's continue. This is the second Middle Passage, family. Nothing to do with Africa. This right here is a sugarcane plantation right here. That's where the brother started at, on a sugarcane plantation. What else we can talk about on here? That's the scene from a sugarcane plantation. This right here. This scene right here is important too. This is dealing with the second Atlantic slave trade. This is what the movie 12 Years a Slave was about. He's a free man. Guess where he's at? He's in fucking New York. He's in New York. That's the streets of New York right there. A free little Moorish family walking around, about to go shopping. Clean. Now, slavery is happening during this time, family. The enslaving of black folks, worked to death on the plantation, is happening as they're walking across the street with their good ass clothes on. Everybody of color were not slaves. Anthony Johnson, that's how he came into his fucking fold. Anthony would look like him at some point. Put on his good shit, his top hat, and I'm gonna own me a couple niggas too. For life though. This is pretty good business. I ain't gotta do shit. Y'all gotta work. Y'all gotta work because they're property, they're wards of the state. And see, the idea of slavery and how they and free labor trickles down through history and goes to what's called the chain gang system, the prison system. That's how a lot of the roads and ditches got dug in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, through what's called the chain gang system or the prison exchange system. They would trade niggas because under the 13th Amendment, remember, you are a slave again if you're incarcerated. Slavery still applies to you if you're incarcerated under the 13th Amendment, which makes you civilly dead, civil mortuus, which is also a loss of all civil rights as a civilian. You're now reduced to a different status of a worker or a laborer for life. Let's continue. 12 Years a Slave. See if we can find some scenes right quick without YouTube shutting us down. Videos. There's a particular scene I want to show you guys here. Is this it right here? Nope, that's not it there. That's not it there. I think it's called this right here. I think that's what I saw yesterday. Here we go. Pay attention.
The DC liberal spending spree.
Pay attention to this scene. Please pay attention, family. Pay particular attention to this scene. Tell me what you see and what you do not see in this scene, and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go. Let's get into it.
New crew back. Pure silk by way of the French. We were in need of a fresh carry-off for my missus's travels. Nothing more. The year is past already. Off to work at Sadie Hill again.
I am.
I have just the thing. Something to suit your style and yet sturdy enough for the 40-mile round trip.
It's beautiful.
And what price?
We will take it. Children, come see what your father has just purchased.
Boy, got a bag on him. Look at the nigga coming in the store. Let's back it up a little bit. Look how he dressed. Look at the expression on his fucking face to see that we are free. Look at him. He see folk look like him shopping, clean, a whole black family. What was going, and his name is Jasper. You're going to see his name is Jasper. What was going through Mr. Jasper's mind? This is your young brother too. What do y'all think was going through Jasper's mind as he entered the store? And I'm showing you how they took niggas from the north. This is Troy as a slave. And they tricked them and they traded them. And now he in the store with his clean shit on, with his wife and his family shopping. The wife said, "I want this bag right here." The nigga said, "How much is the bag?" The wife said, "Don't even, we got it. Give me that motherfucking Birkin bag. Give me that Birkin." The nigga buying Birkin bags one day, and then the next day he picking cotton. Make it make sense. This is Jasper though. Watch this. Let's continue.
One moment, sir. You'll be assisted. Mr. Parker. Sir. We could discuss the price. Forgive me, Solomon. This is no other customer waits. Welcome, sir.
Shop well, sir, but mind your wallet.
Pay no attention to this gentleman's nonsense.
Yes, sir. My regrets for the intrusion, sir.
No intrusion.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
Jasper.
He didn't even acknowledge the nigga. He didn't even acknowledge bro. But the white store owner went right to the Jasper like really, you know, what you need. Because the idea of a segregated by color was still a fairly new concept. That does not develop until the 1920s and 30s when they really start to show the differential classifications about Negroes. You see what I'm saying? This is earlier on, family, in the early mid 1800s, right here. We dressed like that all the way to about 1960, 1970 was like the dawn of a new dress code for so-called Negroes in America. But we dressed pretty fucking sappy, pretty sharp, they call it. We dressed pretty sharp. Communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, the photos they showed of the brothers, they was pretty fucking sharp. 3-piece suits. Okay. Weeksville, New York, which was 1880 something prior to Tulsa, Oklahoma, we dressed pretty sharp too. We was pretty sharp. But the white dude does not even acknowledge the fact that their brother in there shopping. No, like zero. Had no words for him. There's one more scene I want to watch, then we're going to move on, that I think is imperative to understanding the second Atlantic slave trade. But I wanted to show you because we were free as a collective body. Everybody was not under slavery, unfortunately. Port of, I'm gonna say, I don't know which port that was. Let me see if I can find this shit. Because this scene is so important, man. And yes, I want to point this out too. Our ancestors did suffer on the transatlantic slave trade, much far greater than the Second Middle Passage. All of it was fucking crazy. Seen 12 Years a Slave. I don't know. Solomon. I can spell his name. His name was Solomon Northam or something like that. Yeah, Solomon was sold. Let's see here. There we go. So this is part of the scene right here, but not the one what you see.
Mr. Ford. Splendid seeing you, sir. What catches your fancy? This lounge is very brawny. Huh?
How much for the ones Platt and Eliza?
1,000 for Platt. This is a nigger of considerable talent, I assure you. 700 for Eliza? My fairest price?
You will accept a note.
Please,
of course, from you, Mr.
do not
Ford.
divide my.
He about to drop 1,700. He about to drop 1,700 to buy them. 1,700 bones to purchase them. He just bought Clad and the lady right here, but he didn't buy the kids though. Watch this scene. Watch this scene.
My family, do not take me unless you take my children.
Liza, quiet!
You will have the most faithful slave in me, the most
Liza.
faithful slave that's ever lived, but I beg that you
Your
do
price
not
for the
separate
boy.
us.
The boy.
Please.
Stop it. I will give you something to cry about. Randall, come forward. Come. Now, you see how fit this boy is. Like ripe fruit. May I take your stick a moment? Observe this, Randall. Jump, run. Very good. Higher.
The fucking NFL. It's a book called $40 Million Slave. Jump, higher. He can jump pretty good. He can run that ball, can he? Let's buy that nigga for $40 million. It's the same shit, family. It never stopped. This never stopped. Watch this. That ain't the scene I wanted y'all to see. Solomon. Let's see, we get this pop name was changed. Boy, I promise y'all, if I find that scene, I'm gonna jump for joy. Damn. I'm trying to show y'all the scene. Maybe if I put when he was kidnapped. Okay. Scenes from 12 Years a Slave when he was kidnapped. It's that same young lady who was crying about her children earlier on. Let's just watch the trailer. See what happened in the trailer right quick. The trailer might show it.
I want to ask you what part of the country you come from.
I originate from Canada. I guess where that is.
Well, I know where Canada is. I've been there myself.
Well traveled for a slave.
Solomon Northam is an expert player on the violin.
I was born a free man, lived with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Until the day I was
Y'all see that? This was not Weeksville. I'm sorry, was not Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was not Black Wall Street. This was just a regular free brother with his son. Probably admired his dad. Sharp. Hell, I'll wear that shit now when he got on. That shit's clean. Sharp brother. New York, 1841. How did he end up picking cotton in the South? He was, I'll let him tell y'all.
with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Until the day I was deceived.
To Solomon.
Kidnapped. Sold into slavery.
Well, boy, how you feel now?
My name is Solomon Northam. I'm a free man, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me.
You're no free man. You're nothing but a...
There we go. He's on a schooner. Not a big-ass slave ship, is it? No, because that's not your story. The transatlantic slave trade is not your story. The second Middle Passage is our story in North America. You see what he's sitting on or standing up on? A schooner. This is what it's called. A skiff. It has a sail. It's not a ship, per se. It's a ship due to maritime, wording, it's a ship, but it's a schooner.
Georgia runaway.
That's the part when he slapped his ass and said, "You ain't nothing but a Georgia runaway," and he changed his name, much similar to the movie Roots when they beat the name Kunta Kinte out of Toby ass. But those were the Africans having their name changed. It was necessary to change everybody's name to confuse everybody, because if they kept their rightful name, then Mabuntu would not be the same as Keith. I'm not saying last names because Christian had last names. His brother, his name was Solomon Northern. So if Mobutu was beside him, we clearly we're not in the same. His name is totally. He had an African name. I'm not African. I'm from here. And that's what Solomon was saying. He was kidnapped and sold into slavery. Remember those? Let's keep watching. Let's keep watching before I go any further.
Went down to the river Jordan.
And that servant
that
don't obey his Lord shall be beaten with many stripes.
That's scripture. The condition of your laborers, it's all wrong.
They're my property.
You say that with pride.
I say it as fact.
Man does how he pleases with his property.
Property, 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 property. You were fucking property. Property. Keep that in mind. Now watch this. The etymology of emancipation.
According to Online Etymology Dictionary, 1620s, set free from control, from Latin emancipate.
Property. Emancipate. Etymon.
Emancipate.
Emancipate. Messapu. Messa. Mansa. Pa. Slave. Emancipate. Transferred as property. Who is transferred? Fucking up. Who is transferred as property? The slave is transferred as property. Early 17th century, which is the 1600s. Latin, emancipate, transferred as property from the verb emancipare, from out, emancipate, slave. Emancipate. You see how he kept saying they're his fucking property? You see what that was 1841. You don't get the Emancipation Proclamation till when, y'all? Later. But Lincoln uses that same term, property. Lincoln also called them contrabands of war, which is another word of the property of the War Department. See, the individuals in North America who were enslaved, this was about a labor dispute. Yeah, the people out of Africa who were brought to the islands to work in South America, that was very laborious. But their nation sold most of them into slavery anyway, because they were already POWs, prisoners of war. The individuals in North America, in their history, Solomon Northern, who was kidnapped, sold into the system of slavery, brought to Louisiana, and the white dude slapped the hell out of him and told him, "You ain't nothing but a Georgia runaway." Because the Fugitive Slave Act, soon to come, also said if anybody runs away and they are captured, they must be returned to their plantation, because they're the property of the state. They're state property. They belong. Watch this. Watch this. Let's do this real quick. What was it called? General Order Number 3. And remember, we're talking about war. We're talking about war. So we're dealing with the president. We're dealing with the War Department. We're dealing with war acts. War. This is General Order Number 3. This is your Juneteenth. This is how they scramble all of the fucking information in your head to make you think that everything is running congruent when it's not. It's totally different information, different history. This what was read to the enslaved people in Galveston, Texas. General Order number 3. The people, slaves, are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, what did the executive proclaim? His proclamation was a proclamation. Remember earlier I talked about those paper bulls, those edicts that's pronounced by the Pope as an edict or a papal bull. This is not a papal bull because Lincoln was not of the clergy, but Lincoln made a proclamation as a government official of the Union. Texas was not of the Union, no, nor was Georgia, nor was Alabama. So they give a fuck less what Lincoln was talking about because Lincoln was not the president of the Confederacy. Okay? Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy. So whatever Jefferson Davis said went. That's their president. The president of the Union was Lincoln. Lincoln issued a proclamation. What did the proclamation say? All slaves are free. As I said yesterday, we can stop reading right there and we can celebrate Juneteenth and have a great fucking Juneteenth weekend and cook out and barbecues and eat ribs and drink all the beer and Hennessy and Ciroc you want to drink because you stop reading right there. But I'm the kind of joker, I want to read all of it. What does the rest say? This involved an absolute equality of personal rights. The part that where it says this includes the absolute equality of personal rights are not talking about nobody but the white plantation owners. They're guaranteeing the white plantation owners something. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to show you what Lincoln gave the white plantation owners. To you self-righteous RBG Negroes who's talking about reparations. Reparations has already been paid. And I'm going to show you. Don't believe a word I say, family. Look it up for yourself. And the rights of property. Property. There it is again. The rights of property. Who's the property? Come on. Y'all paying attention. Who's the property talking about? They're not naming names yet. They said property. First, they told the white folks, we're going to secure your personal rights equally and the rights of your property, which are the Negro people who are enslaved right now. That between the employer, whoa, let's go back up here. Between the former master and slaves, the connection herefore existing between them become what? Employer and what? Hired what? Labor. Okay, now we're going to pay y'all. Now we're going to give y'all a little compensation. It's no longer slave and master. So please, don't nobody say that. Don't nobody call your where y'all work at your job. Don't call it plantation. Don't call your CEO or your supervisor massa no more. He's your employer. That term was in the fucking general order number 3 to tell these people, hey, stop working for 1 second. You now are no longer slaves. You're now employees. Back to fucking work. So everybody that ran away at the beginning of the paragraph when he said we free, and took off running, they were captured and brought back. One of them niggas was Dred Scott, who thought because he came into free territory that he was free. Supreme Court said, no, you didn't read the proclamation, your property, bro. Dred, you got to read, bro. I know you thought you were free, Dred Scott, but you're not because you're property. And property can't own property or be free, Dred. You have to read the 13th Amendment, bro. I'm sorry, the General Order number 3. Why did you run up here in the first place? You ran from Galveston, Texas? You're not free up here either. I know it's the North, and you heard the niggas run north for freedom, Dred. But unfortunately, because whatever the condition you were in before you got here, you're still in that same condition, Dred Scott. Sorry, buddy. You're fucking property. So how many times I gotta dismantle this Juneteenth shit for y'all? Let's continue reading. The freed are advised to remain in their present homes. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Who the fuck the free people are? And why they gotta stay in their house and work for wages? What are the hired labor working for then? Shit. compensation, housing, clothing, sharecropping. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, which is the American Legion, and that they will not be supported in their laziness or idleness, either there or elsewhere. Y'all niggas best to be fucking working. All y'all. Go get a fucking job. Go get a job. And you work. And you work until you die. You keep working. And you work some more. Work. Gotta get me a job, man. Gotta get me a job, bro. This is General Order Number 3, family. This was read in Galveston, Texas during June. This is what's giving you the Juneteenth holiday right here. This is this fucking paragraph right here. But as you can see, nobody was freed in the first place. Even under the word Emancipation Proclamation, you saw what emancipate mean. It means to transfer property. What property? The same property they're talking about in General Order Number 3. The same property that Lincoln said was contrabands of war. Let's continue. Domestic slave trade. Let's go here.
They waited until
Africans and dark-skinned indigenous Americans were amalgamated. They were intermingled to where the histories of the origins were switched, or you just embraced the wrong story. Not this is less of a story. You just embrace the wrong story. Check this out.
Come here, let me show you something. This here is a Guinea man, an African. They catch him running through the woods in Guinea. Master Reynolds bought him right off the ship. You keep away from him now, because he's a wild African. Oh, yeah, he a Bob.
Why in the hell? This is the movie Roots, by the way. This is the same movie that had some people thinking that they really came off of African slave ships and picked cotton. They were putting in chains, and everybody black in America was just some cotton picking niggas. This is the movie, 1977, Alex Haley, The Roots. This is a scene from Roots. The guy who's talking, Louis Gossett Jr., who played Fiddler, is explaining to the American Negroes what a African Negro looks like. And Fiddler further says, now you let me teach him what it is he got to be knowing. And I want you guys to observe the children as they're absorbing for their first time. Their little beady eyes have seen an African, because they're not African. They're not from Africa. They didn't have the money to even go to Africa. Like most of us don't have a passport. I can't go to Africa right now. Literally cannot go to Africa. It's too fucking expensive to fly over there. You seen the ticket prices? They're ridiculous. He's explaining to these indigenous woodland, Arawak, Pamunkey, Wichita, Yomacraw, Lakota, Coweta, Chickasaw, Blackfoot, Creek. You get the point. He's explaining to them what the African is, because they don't know what the African is.
Yes, for sure.
And I want you to look at what's on their heads. Look at what's on these women's head. Do you think that they're African because they're wearing those on their heads? No. I'm going to show you what that is too. Just take note of what's on their heads and their copper colored skin. These are Indians.
Now, some of you ain't never seen no African niggas before, so you just listen to old fiddlers now.
And some of you ain't never seen no African nigga before. Why ain't they never seen the African nigga, Fiddler? Ain't they African niggas, Fiddler? They're not African niggas, Fiddler? Then what are they? They didn't come from Africa, but they're picking cotton. Oh, they're in labor camps. Debtors jail. Oh, they don't have any civil rights. So they have to earn their keep. Oh, they were tricked out of their land. That's right. That's right. That's right. The planters or the masses swindled them out of their fucking land. Oh, that's what it was. So that's why he has to explain to them what their African
This
is.
here Guinea man don't know English, dog. So I'll be the one teaching him what it is he got to know. Come on.
He don't know English talk, but they speaking perfectly good English right now. They chopping it up because the Native Americans been speaking English since 1619, hell, the 1500s. They know English and they can read and write. That's why Solomon Northern was so a learned man. We could read and write. They got you thinking that slavery was an era of destitute for all dark-skinned people in America. They couldn't read, they couldn't write. They was fucking just laborers. They wasn't shit. That's part of the psyops, family. That's part of the social engineering. They have you thinking that shit. No. But the point is, let me show you another one real quick. Our people had to be explained what an African was. Watch this scene, one more scene from the movie Roots. Remember the headdress I was telling you about real quick? These people with the headdress, I'm going to show you who they are in a minute. Remember that the headgear. These are mulatto women. Remember the headgear on their heads, okay? Remember that piece right there. I just showed you in the movie. Let's get to this real quick.
That Mandinka face.
Mandinka? What foodstuffs that you talking about? That's African. I ain't no African.
Well, I'm Mandinka. We're proud people.
And I'm American.
This is in the movie Roots. Kizzy said, what the African talk? I ain't from no Africa. I'm an American. In the movie Roots, the same movie that showed y'all, listen, the movie is proving my point. Kizzy and Toby, they're having a conversation. That's a Mandinka face, phenotype. Because this is what they did in the early 18th, middle, late 19th century by way of Johann Blumenbacher, Samuel Morton. They created a classification based on phenotype. The phenotype of the wide nose, the thick lips, and the woolly hair. Based on phenotype, y'all are all Africans. Y'all all look alike. And that's what the fuck he just said to her. But did you hear what she said to him?
I'm American. I'm American. I was born here. My mammy and my daddy was born here. And my daddy's daddy. And I ain't no African.
The sister roll her fucking neck. Roll her neck. Check out her headgear.
That Mandinka face.
Look at her headgear. Look at her headgear. That ain't got nothing to do with no Africa. That headgear. Nothing. Nothing. Women of color in America were made to cover their heads up. The same as when Georgie Boy said in the 1700s about the Moors, if we could take the fezzes off their heads and take the sandals off their feet, in a couple hundred years they'll forget who the fuck they are. Y'all cover y'all long ass hair up. I don't want nobody seeing that y'all Indians. Nobody. Watch this. It was a fucking law. It was a law. The Tinjon, I think I'm saying that right, law. 1786, law enacted by the Spanish governor of Louisiana, Esteban Rodriguez Moro, that forced black women to wear a tanjon head scarf. Nothing to do with Africa. Cover y'all goddamn head up. Cover up y'all hair. Let's find out why. Let's deal with it. You ever heard of the black codes? The black Christian codes? Well, this was in Louisiana. This is called Code Noir. This is a French. Code Noir was decreed passed by the French king Louis, I think this is the 24th, in 1685. Nobody picking cotton. Not at all. Not that early. Cotton comes later. Defining the conditions of slavery in the French colony empire, the decree restricted the activities of free people of color, mandated the conversion of all enslaved people throughout the empire to Roman Catholicism. Code Noir. Where did it take place where were the French colonies at? In the Caribbean. See how we go back to where they came from the first time in 1685? They were not in North America yet. They're not there yet. Not picking cotton. Not how you're told. This is the African polemic story. They were made to cover their heads then, and it continued. It continued. It's called the Tanginon Law. Crazy shit, right? Crazy shit. So when you saw Kizzy with her hair covered up, you think that what it was? In America, the head wrap is the ultimate item that kept the slaver's hair protected from elements which help curb the spread of lice. That didn't do with us. Yet, as in African head wraps, also created a community. Free people of color.
According to Wikipedia, in the context of the history of slavery in the Americas, free people of color were primarily people of mixed African, European, and Native American descent who were not enslaved.
Everybody were not slaves. Look at these sisters over here. Everybody got their head wrapped. This is during the French occupation of parts of North America, mostly of the islands. This was a mix. This nothing to do with cotton picking Negroes in the South yet. We haven't got there yet. Relax. We're going to get there in a minute. Free people of color. Solomon Northern was a free person of color. A free person of color. Nothing to do with slavery. Free person of color. What is a free person of color? Free people of color, people of African descent who lived in the colonies in the antebellum America, were born free or escaped the bonds of slavery before it was abolished in 1865, made significant contributions to the economies and cultures of the communities in which they live, but held an anomalous status in their racial classification, probably what it says. Free people of color. They had jobs like artisans, small retail merchants in towns, especially in the American South. There were restrictions on people of color owning slaves in agricultural land, but many free blacks lived in the countryside and some became major slaveholders. But some free blacks lived in the countryside and some became major slaveholders. That's right. Slavery was like going to buy a pair of fucking Jordans back then. Imagine those of us who own homes, we can get somebody to come do our yard every week for free. Those of us who own houses, imagine we can get some yard work done every day. And not only get yard work done, but we can grow stuff in our yard and make a lot of money on that shit. And we ain't got to lift a finger. And don't worry about them who in your yard doing the shit because they ain't nobody no way. The government got our back. It's okay. Work the fuck out of them. They belong to you. You bought them. They're your property. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's how it works. Free people of color. Everybody was not slaves or under slavery. So, Minister, to make it all make sense before we wrap it up, when did slaves come to America? Because I thought that they came to America at a certain time, and I was told that they came to America. Uh, they arrived in Jamestown, Virginia, and I'm confused. Minister, help us out. These scenes. Remember, he just said Master Reynolds called him running through the woods of Guinea. He's a Guinea man. Right here, this right here is the Atlantic African slave trade, the atlas of the transatlantic slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. Somewhere they got numbers of how many they brought from Africa, and the numbers were really, really low. But it said there were already millions of us already here, in the millions already here, in the millions already here. This is the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, we got that. Now, what we want to be concerned with is, where is it at? The domestic slave trade. See how the pictures changed? You see, during the Atlantic slave trade, you didn't see anybody in cotton fields. You notice that? You didn't notice anybody in cotton fields, did you, on the Atlantic slave trade? But as soon as I went to the domestic slave trade, which is also called the Second Middle Passage, you immediately see Negroes in cotton fields and being sold on auction blocks and being in chains over here in America. You don't see that happening with the Atlantic slave trade coming out of Africa. Africans were not brought here to pick cotton. Cotton didn't even start yet. Africans were outlawed from being transported in 1807. So by the time cotton got jumping around 1841 to 1855, nigga, they were not shipping people from Africa over here yet. Tobacco and rice was big industry earlier on, but not enough to bring a bunch of people from Africa to do it. Just take the people who are already here. Here, we already took the land from them. Turn them into POWs. That's why you hear the stories of George Washington, who was a general, who became a president. You hear stories of Andrew Jackson, who was a fucking general, becoming president. These are war power people. This is a war going on, a conquest. They used the ecclesiastical seat under what's called manifest destiny and pushed us further back to the West Coast and took more fucking land and flipped the script through documentation and science. You talking about science and some shit up? Let's science it up real quick then and wrap it up with a 2-hour mark. Listen, family, thank y'all for kicking it with me. Thank y'all for hanging there with me. I know it's a lot of information to cover. I'm probably going to have to do a part 3 to this just to wrap it up. Don't forget, December 9th through the 11th, come rock with your boy. Tickets are on sale right now. Tickets are going fast. We only got a limited amount of tickets. We got 25 seats to fill, family. I think we like halfway through the tickets already. People are already tapping in. I need my vendors, virtual vending and in-person vending. Shoot me an email, the MOI podcast at Gmail. Email me. Let me know you want to tap in with your boy. We have more guest speakers going to appear. It's going to show up. This is a weekend of scholastics. This is a weekend seminar of just pure, outright knowledge and education. It's a classroom setting. I thought I had a picture of the venue up here. I do. It's right here. Islam. All praise due to Allah. This is the space, family. We're going to be occupying for that weekend. It is an actual huge ass classroom. So pens and papers are necessary. And as I said again, people are paying thousands of dollars for real estate seminars and other type of seminars. This is $500 fee. You can pay for one day if you want. If you want to just do one day, it's okay. You can do all my one dayers. But if you want to come down to Atlanta for a great weekend, for a great time, and vibe about the entire weekend with us, please get at me. Shoot me email the MOI podcast. If you're interested, tickets are on sale. I send you the link. It's on Eventbrite too. At the Knowledge and Enlightenment Seminar on Eventbrite as well. So with the 2-hour mark, family, I don't want to tear it too long before you guys. I'm gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. I do have other things to get into this evening, but closing off today with understanding, and we're gonna do a part 3. I promise you. Part 3, we're going to more of the history and the science of everything. But today, I wanted to really hammer down the fact that the construction of how they put out, and they don't do it on purpose. They just leave it up to you to not go look it up, and you end up thinking you come from Africa, which is fucking crazy, right? So, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I wanted to spend this time letting you guys know that think a little bit, family. Think a little bit. Think a little bit. And we didn't even get into the Civil Rights Act of the 1700s, which would dealing with your brother Crispus Attucks, who was a Methodist preacher. We didn't get into any of that. Were there slaves from Africa or from the islands who came to North America? Of course. Stop looking for what I'm not saying. Listen to what I am saying. Like, don't search for what I'm not saying. And we can talk about those from the islands who came here to North America, like Prince Hall, Marcus Garvey. We could talk about all those African descendant individuals who came to North America eventually, even before Prince Hall. But the point I'm trying to drive home is to let you guys understand that your people were already here in North America, and they were subjects under what was called prisoners of war, because war was declared on them immediately in 1493. I'm sorry, 1489 to 1493. War was being declared on them. At the fall of the Moorish Empire in Spain, an edict was issued by Pope Alexander V to conquer the infidels. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk to you about the Atlantic African slave trade as well. And I'm going to show you some individuals who were directly hired under contractual terms to export bodies out of Africa and take them right into South America, Central America. There was no need for Portugal and Spain to come into North America at that particular time immediately. They already owned half of the lower region, which the Louisiana Purchase used to be owned by Spain, if you didn't know that. Spain sold it to France, and then France sold it back to America. Parts of that Louisiana Purchase, if we just saw, did not belong to America. So anyway, a lot of information to throw in there together, family, but I'm going to keep going over it to really have an understanding of what's happening. This is the true history of the Atlantic slave trade, part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. Share this shit, like it, get people to tap in with your boy. I'm 800 deep right now on YouTube. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 mark by the end of the year. With your help, I will get there. I believe we can do it together, y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in with your boy. If you have appreciated anything I've done tonight, please make donations at $Chef JJ, $2 challenge, $3 challenge. Y'all already know ain't about the money with me, but I did spend my time on here educating you guys. And if you was going to college, you would pay a couple $1 million to go to college. Okay, I'm exaggerating. A couple $1,000 to go to college. So as for a small monetary donation for my time, for putting you guys up on game, I'm pretty sure it's everything you already knew anyway. I'm just here to remind you guys. But remember, don't trust a word I say. Do your own research. Look it up for yourself. Then it becomes something you know, not something you heard. Until next time, family, I am the Minister of Information. Peace and love.
From somewhere. Hello, everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Minister of Information.
Next question. Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
Minister. Wake up.
Minister of Information.
All I'm offering is the truth.
Minister.
The minister's.
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I.
Minister.
Without knowledge of self.
Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I.